Welcome to Deshdoot. It is the 52nd anniversary of this newspaper. Having completed 51 years since 1970, we are venturing out into the future. On this occasion, we have come out with a series of Nashik, Kal, Aaj आणि Udya, meaning Nashik yesterday, today and tomorrow. In this series today, we talk about the industry and of course, to have a discussion on the past, present and future of Nashik industry, we have a stalwart of the industry itself. None other than Narendra Ji Golia. Golia Ji is one of the first person to have a multinational operation of his organization, Rishabh Instruments. Having started with Rishabh Instruments, he has started his factories in Poland and importantly in China. One area where we always feel that it is the Chinese who rule us with their products, but here is an example that a Nashikite is in China on the grounds doing his business. He also has his units in the US of A as well as in UK. As I said, a stalwart in the industry, he has been representing the industrial organizations in various capacities. Importantly, he has been the president of Nashik Engineering Cluster, one such organization which is a facilitative organization for entrepreneurs and enterprises in Nashik. Golia Ji is also a mentor and educator. He has been educating and giving sessions to young entrepreneurs all over. To talk to this stalwart, we have a youngster from Nashik industry. Akshay Dhumal, representing Dhumal Industries, the young generation of the Nashik industrial face. Akshay will speak to Golia Ji on the past, present and future of Nashik. As I said, Akshay is the young entrepreneur. He comes with an engineering and management background, and he has definitely delivered his best to bring out the best in this interview. Let us see what the two have to tell us.
My name is Akshay Dhumal. I am Executive Director at Dhumal Industries and also your host for today's discussion. On behalf of Deshdoot and the entire team of Deshdoot, I welcome you all to this discussion on Nashik, Kal, Aaj आणि Udya. That means yesterday, today and tomorrow. In this industry special segment, today we have with us Mr. Narendra Ji Golia, who is Chairman and Managing Director at Rishabh Instruments Limited. Mr. Golia doesn't really need an introduction. He is one of Nashik's finest entrepreneurs and a first-generation businessman who has built Rishabh into a huge MNC and probably Nashik's first and only real MNC. Mr. Golia Ji completed his electrical engineering from IIT Mumbai and I think was also gold medalist at IIT, and further went on to study MS in electronics from Stanford University, USA. In spite of studying abroad, he decided to come back to India and set up Rishabh Instruments Private Limited at Nashik in 1983. Over the years, he has built Rishabh into a huge brand in electrical industrial control and measuring instruments. He is responsible for the overall management activities of the company, including the development of strategies for future growth. To accelerate growth, in addition to the organic growth endeavors of Rishabh acquired Lumel SA in the summer of 2011 from the state of Poland. The synergies of the joint unit have become a turning point in Rishabh's history and game changer for both organizations. He is also very socially involved in the local Nashik community. He is the technical director of Nashik Engineering Cluster, a 60 crore project promoted in joint partnership with the Government of India for the development of industries in Nashik. He takes keen interest in the education of children and development of educational institutes, lecturing extensively in engineering and management colleges. Welcome Golia ji to today's discussion.
Thank you so much. I
Goli-
don't think I'm worthy of this, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Some of the things you stated are facts, and we try to do our best, whatever
Yes,
we can.
yes. So, Guliaji, for a lot of young people like us, we are unaware of Nashik industrial scenario in late 70s and 80s when you started, and the challenges you may have faced setting up industry 40 years ago. So, can you please tell us a little bit about the evolution of Nashik industrial sector over the years, and also your journey at Rishabh Instruments through this period?
Sure. See, in Nashik, we are part of India. So India has grown very well, but it was a hard time. Even today, I would say that the country is growing well. Nashik has grown very well. But where are we compared to the world? There are many things which are still not as competitive, as easy as this thing. So that time when I started in 1983, the biggest challenge was the license permit Raj. We still had what we used to call it as DGTD. There was a central planner at Delhi, and he would decide India mein how many cars can be made, how many scooters can be made, how many refrigerators can be made. And lo and behold, the biggest problem was if you overproduced things more than what the license was, there was a penalty. There was no penalty if you underproduced and you wasted the national resources, but the penalty was when you overproduced. So looking back today, that was the time of socialism. A lot of things were, let me say, at that time people had some ideas, how bank nationalization happened. Today, if it was there, nobody is going to nationalize any of the industries. Today, we are denationalizing. So same way, this was a major challenge that for making world-class products, you have to get raw materials from all over the world. You have to manufacture in India and you have to export all over the world.
Yes.
Now again, that was not something which our planners or let's say our politicians understood so well, and therefore we had very high duty barriers. The duty on most of the items I imported was over 100%, 140, 130, 120. Now you can imagine when you pay such kind of duty. So it was, we were making it India, we were making it for India, and we were making Indian quality. If I can summarize, that was the situation. And, again, many of the young generation will never be able to appreciate what I'm going to tell you. That at that time export was a dream. You could hardly, unless you wanted to export raw materials or some basic stuff. From there, slowly, of course, Manmohan Singh came, and he was the first finance minister who really understood finance. He denationalized, and the industries were scared. Both ways. Since we were kept under closed barriers, we were afraid to come out and compete with the world. And therefore, even people like Rahul Bajaj said, give us a level playing field, don't remove the trade tariff so fast. He dismantled it very fast. Today you don't even know the word DGTD. It was Director General Technology Development, who were deciding what India can make, cannot make. So it was a tough time, but let's say we have come out of it.
No, but interestingly, you mentioned Indian quality. So, but Rishabh is a company who's known especially for quality.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit how you were kind of able to get out of that cycle and, jump the curve on quality?
Yeah. So, see what happened is, I'll give you a little history of Rishabh. When we set it up, like any new enterprise, it's very good to do anything on paper, but when you actually go out and do it, then life is never as easy as it is when you to make a projection or a chart or something. So of course we had financial institutions, but we could never achieve the numbers we had projected. We had taken loans from CCOM, and of course there was seed capital from government of Maharashtra, but there was a lot of promoters' contribution, and all that got vanished away. And banks were not ready to help us beyond a point, And then came this, we had a German collaboration. The collaborators were not very happy about us because we are only giving them 50% of the money and the rest of the money was to be paid. So when we could
50% was the tax. 50% was tax.
No, 50% was, see, there was a technology we had imported from Germany. So, and that was a big, let's say out of the project cost, 30% would be technology payment. And it was German quality, German technology, so they're going to charge through the nose. And of course the technology was very good, that's why we are what we are today. So we could not, so 15% was paid upfront as a project cost, and 15% was to be paid from the revenues which we would generate.
Okay.
Now, there was no generation of revenue, so there was no paying the technology. Now, when we could not pay the technology fees, they came here and they sort of, tried to use legal means to recover their money. There is when we said, see, you go legal, India में, legal system, उस time भी खराब था, आज उससे भी ज़्यादा खराब, बदतर है,
बराबर.
Cases never go to court, and if they go to court, they never see the. You must have read recently, 106-year-old man died without getting a final answer from the Supreme Court. 53 years he was fighting in the courts.
Wow.
So we also explained to them, and we said, see, the better thing is that we make good instruments, you can test it, they are German quality, blah, blah, all that. Why don't you start buying the instruments? Now, he was a German who, let me say, looking back, understood what we were saying, and he was ready to experiment. It was part of BBC, Brown Brewery Corporation, which is the earlier company to ABB. ABB is Asia Brown Brewery. Asia is one, Brown Brewery, the two merged together, so you have ABB.
Okay.
So he was from Brown Brewery, and he said, okay, let me see. So he went back, convinced his bosses, said, okay, we'll get 2-3 lots from you. He started importing, and they really found the quality good. So then it became a routine. Then they went on doing it for about 10 years. But there is when you could sell in Germany, two things. One is you have to maintain the quality, and number two is anywhere you go in the world, and when you say BBC is buying it, nobody else is going to question. Today also, if somebody says I'm a supplier to, let's say, Mercedes-Benz or BMW, then what are we going to question?
By default, you kind of got disciplined.
Absolutely. It was default. It was really a, a God savior, God sent gift,
पर गोलिया जी, आपने जब कंपनी शुरू किया, बराबर, इतने सालों पहले, and you came all the way from the United States, आप इतने छोटे सिटी में आए नासिक जैसे, तभी तो कुछ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी नहीं हुआ होगा इधर. Barely telephones, I don't know telephones भी थे या नहीं थे.
It was a big challenge. For 2 years we didn't have a telephone.
उधर करना, फिर जर्मन कंपनी से कोलैबोरेशन करना, आपने कैसे मैनेज किया ये सब? And आपको कोई any funny incidents that you particularly remember you want to share?
Yeah. No, obviously these were the biggest challenge. Like you were saying, infrastructure नहीं था. फैक्ट्री बना लिया तो पावर कनेक्शन देने को नहीं है. We also have corruption as a big problem. Probably it has reduced with all the electronification which is being done, but still I would say we are not out of it, but that time it was deep. So when we want to get it, when we wanted to get power connection and we went to MACB officers, they say, what can you give us? I said, I have not even started the factory. What can I give you? So official dues hai, wo to we had paid. So then, we had to actually go to High Court, get a writ petition against the MACB and give them an order saying that within 3 days you have to give the connection. I mean, the corruption was the biggest hurdle, which has reduced substantially because now the contacts have reduced. Today you must have all of you know the kind of faceless assessments. And I would say, of course, there are challenges. I mean, CAs could talk in some other language. But I have to say that this is a big boon to industry. You ask in writing, you don't see the face of the person, so there's no question for asking for money. And I think even this problem of, maybe they will do this electronically, without the person knowing whom they are talking to. Right. So corruption was, of course, a big problem. But in terms of infrastructure, Nashik, Bombay was 5 hours. In fact, I still remember those days when going through Kasara was much faster. 1 hour you would reach Kasara, and then they take the local train and you were in Bombay. So within 3.5, 4 hours, even that time. Today also road takes about 3 hours.
3 hours.
So infrastructure was a big problem. Flights to the nahi. Ek pehle flight thi Bombay Nashik, but that also didn't last long. So one by one, I mean, everything was the culture in Nashik was so bad. I still remember one incident going to buy some electrical parts in Nashik. The shopkeeper is open. I won't name him because he's still there. And
my dad used to tell me कि shops 12 से 4 बंद रहते थे.
So same incidents I'm telling you. I reached that shop at 1 o'clock. The fellow is open. I tell him give this thing. बोले सर आता 1 बजे आता 4 बजता यार. Sir, you open. I mean there was no hunger. Like today, we are hungry for business.
Correct.
But it was a very laid back culture.
Take it easy.
हुआ तो हुआ नहीं तो शाम को करेंगे. खाने को क्या चाहिए 2 रोटी चाहिए. So infrastructure of course was a big problem. But other way around, climate was a big plus, I mean, even that time it was a nice climate. Even today, I always tell tell people in the month of May, अगर आप शाम को 6 बजे खुले में बैठो, तो it's a beautiful climate that we enjoy.
yes.
So these were the pluses. Of course, there were minuses. So we've come a long way.
नहीं, but I am happy to hear कि government machinery is kind of moving in the right direction. And तो गोलिया जी आपका थोड़ा मैं advice चाहता था कि infrastructure wise, now if you see, if we want to make Nashik the next hottest destination, तो अपने को क्या करना चाहिए to kind of make Nashik a lucrative investment destination for people to start industries. And one another question was कि we have these different industrial areas, Satpur हो गया, Ambad, Sinnar, Dindori. So ऐसा कुछ, should we create an infrastructure where there is a ring road and everything is connected? तो आपका क्या?
Definitely. See, road today, I mean, road, railway, flights, these things, nobody can challenge you or say that they are not required. They are absolutely required. But let me say one thing, that industry doesn't need cash assistance. All governments try to lure people by giving cash. I would say they should lure people by giving infrastructure,
Right.
Common service centers, make it a hub, like Nashik could be a hub for, you already mentioned it, which is a fact. Right. Even when we made NEC, Nashik was famous for electrical industry. Right. So create testing centers, create machining centers, create centers where people can use those. See, not everybody can afford testing facilities, EMI, EMC testing or vibration, shock, humidity. Because see, if you have to make instruments for world class, then you have to have all the facilities and more than development. Development is important, but along with that, proving that your products are equal to any competitor's products are equally important. So from that point of view, you create an infrastructure where people come here. We are already having a CPRI which is coming, but there could be a couple of such other centers if we can make them. I mean, one is the physical infrastructure, but this is also infrastructure, if you understand what I say.
Very true, very true. And I think this is the most appropriate time to also talk about your involvement in NEC. Yeah. That you established NEC in
12, 13 years ago, we established NEC, and it has become one of the best centers in Nashik. We did a whole systematic study. We appointed a consultant. He found out what are the industries in Nashik. So he came up with a report saying engineering and electrical is there. Then we called all the captains of industry at that point of time, and we asked them what is missing. They recommended what was required. So from there we came with machining centers, calibration centers, prototyping centers. These are some of the best things. We were talking about what is the infrastructure required. Prototyping has become such an important part of any industry, whether it is automobile, it is electrical, it is anything. And some of the people have started having their own prototyping machineries, but everybody cannot afford it. So if you have central facilities where these things can be done, this will help. Today, another major requirement has been the incubation. In NEC also we do incubation. But imagine if a few people who have started industries can have brought India from where it was 20, 30, 40 years ago to where it is. Imagine all the rural people come out, and if they start supporting the industry or they start incubating new industries, where India will go in the next 20, 30, 40 years. So we must get people. See, today people with money can still take risks and become incubators or entrepreneurs. What about people who don't have that kind of leverage,
Right.
So we must, as a country, I mean, more than, let's say, the individual, the country needs people who have the hunger, to take risk and to start something else. So money-wise, we should support them. Government is doing.
And I think right kind of training is also very important.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. See, from the college, both ways. Let me say, college also should. I do, as you said in the introduction, I do a lot of lecturing, and this is my famous topic. What we should teach the students, other than the technology and technical stuff, we have to teach people what are the entrepreneurial needs. Technology is only, let me say, only 20% of any enterprise. 80% is other things. He has to know accounting, he has to know legal side, he has to know the finance side, he has to know profit and loss, reading balance sheets. Now, if we can teach these to people, I mean, compulsorily. Or another topic which I say is that when you want to really train people, just like you have internship, people have to do internship. Same way engineers have to do, need to necessarily do internship so that they are able to really make engineers all-rounded, good engineer, who understands not only engineering but who also understands communication, who understands relationships, who understands how to deal with people. So all these are things which at least Nashik should take the lead in terms of. I mean, we have many engineering colleges. All of you know Nashik is.
And I understand you're launching a new training center at NEC tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow is the launch of a new training center.
Very nice.
You know, there are so many topics, but tomorrow our topic is safety. You know. See the number of deaths that we have in India. You know, other day I was reading somewhere, only Maharashtra, about 600 people die from electrical accidents only. So that is lack of safety, not being conscious, not proper earthing, not proper, you know, having circuit breakers in the circuit. So tomorrow's topic is safety, but again I'm saying training has to be all aspects. Talking about business training, talking about safety training, talking about so many other kinds of things which we can do to prepare the youth of tomorrow. See, technology is such a challenging topic, you know. I mean, when I passed of college, believe me, I mean, many of you will laugh, but calculators were not allowed, you know. Calculators were just coming in. I'm talking about the early 70s. From there to computers to where, what have you today, and let's imagine next 30, 40 years, I mean, computers will go where, you know. I mean, I just call them hypothetical word, computers, you know. What is computer? I don't know what it is. But let me say three-dimensional, you know. I mean, computer is still two-dimensional. You can make two-dimensional pictures. Or let me say computer which can also have the sense of smell, you know. I mean, he can create a smell in the room. I mean, these are today, they may look like just, you know, you are thinking about them or you are just imagining things. But tomorrow they'll become a reality, you know, that if you want to create a garden here, you can create a garden here, you know.
Guliaji, so what according to you are industries for the future? And what are you really optimistic on? Where do you see growth really happening?
No, growth is going to go all around. See, all of us know artificial intelligence, what it can do, you know. I mean, everybody can imagine when you have self-driving cars, life will become so easy. But life will also become so difficult for the drivers, you know. What will they do? You know, India must be having, I don't know, 50 lakh drivers all over the world. So they will have to upskill, you know. They will have to learn some new skills. But yes, you can imagine setting up, you just put the address, you commonly use addresses and your car will take you there. So life can become much easier. But then the people who get displaced, they need, I mean, that has been happening with computers also. It has happened. All the aged employees of the bank were asked to leave home. You know, they were getting, they used to call it CRS, you know, compulsory retirement scheme. So this is going to again happen, but at least the younger generation who grow up, you know, just imagine our ayas and bais and all. उनके जो बच्चे होते हैं, they are very.
एक तो आपने बोला कि जैसा these are the industries of the future and ये जो कुछ people लोग हैं उनको अपने को थोड़ा अनलर्न करा के उनको नया स्किल सिखाना पड़ेगा so that we take them ahead with us. अभी these are the industries of the future. Nashik, if you see, predominantly has been a very auto ancillary related kind of a business, या electrical kind of a based kind of a business. So people have traditionally grown with these kind of setups. अभी जो youth है अपना नासिक का, उनको कैसे हम encourage करें कि थोड़ा आप out of the box जाओ, थोड़ा जो second generation families है out of the box जाओ, कुछ नया शुरू करो, ऐसा industries पे focus करो जहाँ multifold growth potential है, उसको कैसा encourage कर सकते हैं गुलिया जी?
See, we always say nothing succeeds like success, you know. So you have to show people that people who take risks, they are rewarded, you know.
Right.
I mean, that's the only way. If people are setting up industries, we have to support these entrepreneurs or let's say people who take risks so much that the percentage of people succeeding go up, and then young people are ready to take the risks, you know. See, entrepreneurship is a challenge for sure. Percentage of people successful is not very high, maybe 20%, 25%. Lot of industries fail. They are just, you know, let me say, a little distance away from success, and they either give up or they exhaust their resources.
True.
Now, along with the social fabric, the government should come out and see how to help them. Today, we already have a lot of discussion happening on this incubation and startups and first round funding and second round funding and third round funding. Some mechanism should evolve whereby we create. See, I mean, one of the mantra has to be more successful entrepreneurs.
Right.
So that then other people see it's not such a risky game as it appears to be, you know. And again, I repeat, I mean, some people have start with a very, let's say, hazy idea and they give up in the beginning. But people who come 60-70% up, उनको फिर support चाहिए. क्या हो जाता है? Either by way of capital, expertise or something.
So how I see it is, एक तो वो innovation चाहिए, and that idea has to be molded and guided in the right fashion.
Correct.
तो innovation plays a very big part.
Correct.
तो वो कैसे encourage करे, और second आपने जैसे बोला finance भी, people find it very difficult, especially those who don't have a strong backup. उनको finance का access बहुत difficult हो जाता है.
Okay.
तो वो
See, very relevant question, but a very important way of going ahead is that today, people retire at 58, 59, 60, most industries. Fortunately, they are still very young, They are experienced people. Now, if we create an ecosystem where these people, who are 58, 60 and who have gone to 25, 30, 40 years of working, if they become the mentors to these people,
very
beautiful
interesting
combination can be
Yes.
created where these people get to work. I mean, they can use the experience they have, they're happy to work, you can also reward them, whatever. I mean, those details can be worked out, but these become the mentors for the young people and they really make sure,
Very
again,
nice
I'm saying the support system which is required. बोलते हैं ना, पीछे से थोड़ा सी कोई थमाने वाला चाहिए कि भाई चिंता, बस थोड़ा सी और थोड़ा और कर, you will reach there.
I think ये NEC would be a good platform ये अपने को drive करने के लिए.
NEC we are doing exactly that. People who just
Superb.
retired or people who retired 5-10 years ago, they become the mentors for these entrepreneurs.
Very nice, very nice. आप कुछ और टॉपिक के बारे में बोलना चाहेंगे गुलिया जी?
Yeah. So
we'll focus on what is really important and matters
No,
to
I
you.
think Nashik kal, aaj aur kal. So obviously all of us, kal is mostly history and we can talk about it, but more we have to talk about the aane wala kal, tomorrow. And none of us know, we can all predict that artificial intelligence will play a big role. If somebody will say composite materials will play a big role. Even when I passed out, as I said, we didn't know what was coming. So it's only the ability to fight with the unknown, to take things which we today don't know. That can give success. So how we can develop that culture, as I was saying, people being all rounded up, people not only knowing technology, but people also knowing all the other things associated with business. See, even though you may be employed, entrepreneur need not be an entrepreneur who owns the enterprise. Entrepreneur just means a person who's taking risks. Even if you are working for a Mahindra or a ABB or a Siemens, you still need to take risks. There also you need to have that innovative culture.
True.
So if we can really bring that culture, either by way of education, by way of internship, by way of mentoring, by whichever way, we can talk, then I think whatever the future brings for us, future is, all of us read the newspaper.
And I think in that sense, Rishabh has been a very forward company, innovative company.
Yes.
Rishabh has made some products which have gone into space as well.
Yes.
So, what is this exact product that we made, Gulia ji? And
this is the measurement. See, when the rockets go into space, they have to have a very fine back control, What is the electricity they are consuming? What is the power they are generating? What is the power factor? What are the harmonics? Lot of electrical parameters. So today all those are transmitted, and from that transmission we are able to really make sure that each and every system is, the spacecraft which we sent to the moon, we nearly, we were 5 minutes away from the final success and it collapsed. Because some of the parameters did not function. If we had a better control, so we make those instruments, we actually give you an indication. We don't actually modify the parameters, we just tell you these are the parameters. So we made those instruments which really... so coming back to what we were saying, see, we are a company which has been little more innovative than most other companies. So we set up a plant in Poland, we set up a plant in, we didn't set up a plant, we bought a plant in Poland, we bought a plant in China, and they are
which is again a very interesting topic of discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I was reading about it,
Yeah.
and this was actually a loss-making company.
Yes.
जहाँ आपने risk लिया वापस आपने venture किया to go into unknown territory.
Yes.
And now it is absolutely profit-making, and it's a wonderful achievement for Rishabh.
Yeah,
And
the Polish government has recognized us. But see, again, these are things where you not only take risks, but I actually was personally involved for more than 2.5 years, where I would spend more than 60% of my time there. there, understand that business, understand the weaknesses, and of course convert the weaknesses into strengths. So all what apparently was a weakness today is really paying us rich dividends. And imagine going to China. People think China is a threat. China is a threat, but China is also an opportunity.
True.
I mean, the kind of work we are doing in China, I assure you that will be a jewel in our crown. 2-3 years. We just acquired it 2 years ago, and we are still in the formative stage there. But 2-3 years down the line, it is going to be this thing. And we are also in the developed market. See, one side we are in China, Poland, which are, let's say, middle income countries. China is, but other side we have factories in UK, we have a modification center in US, which are the biggest markets. So there what happens is you are competing with the best in US, and you are able to produce at Indian cost, you are able to produce at Chinese cost.
No, I can see that you've really grown and become a multinational. Guliaji, do you see any noticeable difference when you do business in China, or the environment in China and then the environment especially in Nashik?
Yeah, no, environment-wise, a lot of difference is there. I can go on harping about it.
I mean the business environment.
Yeah, but वो बोलते हैं ना गंगा गए गंगा राम जमुना गए जमुना दास. Instead of talking about the differences, I say what are the opportunities. कि भाई China is such a huge market, and Chinese economy is 6 times the Indian economy. So although we may say India कल होने वाला, China तो आज हो गया है. So you have many opportunities. Then cross selling. What you make in China you sell in Poland. What you make in Poland you sell in India. These are all the opportunities. But बाकी तो देखो difference है, language में difference है. वहाँ free economy नहीं है. वहाँ पे अगर आपका excise officer ने कुछ कर दिया, there is no appeal. इंडिया में you can go on appealing. यहाँ पे चोरी भी करो तो nothing can happen. वहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं है. You can really be penalized very heavily if you do anything. So there the culture of not taking risks is very high, and we are able to really concentrate on business, and we don't spend so much time in the babugiri which we have. Here we have a lot of bureaucracy which is taking away a lot of our time.
नहीं, so one last question for you, Gulia ji, कि on a closing note, कि नासिक के youth के लिए especially and नासिक के general business environment के लिए to grow over the next 25 years, आपका क्या opinion है? What is your advice? And if you were to put it in some 3 major points, how would you?
First is of course passion. It's a God-given talent. I would say partly. That how can you teach people to be passionate about whatever they are doing.
Right.
It can be social entrepreneurship, it can be industrial entrepreneurship, it can be anything. So one thing is you have to choose people who have that passion. Other way is that you try to kindle that passionate. Again, nothing succeeds like success. So you have to see how people can be really made passionate because they get success and they enjoy. People have to also choose the right profession. See, many times, apna Indian culture mein people are pushed into certain things which they don't want to do. So that we have to be careful. Try to find out what people are good at and then kindle that passion so that they do things in the right spirit.
Right. Any other closing
No, I
remarks?
mean, we could have many things, but as we say, see, NEC is one organization which I come in Nashik. We must have many more such organizations in different spheres. Somebody could be in entrepreneurship, somebody could be in testing. Second is infrastructure, also very important point which you mentioned and I didn't mention at that time, is that people should be able to get things in China. If you want land for expansion, it is a nearly zero cost, or rather the cost you give is reimbursed by the government.
True.
India mein to 50% of the cost goes away in land. I mean, you run an industry and you know what it is.
But this wasn't the case 20, 30, 40 years ago, I remember. Because when you came in or my father came in, land was almost free. And people would come and say that you start a project here. Now the situation
but today
is
it is not like today it is not like that. Now, so we have to see.
So
even
we have
today
to do something which
only thing is in China also they don't give you the land forever. See, the moment you stop an industry, you have to surrender the land back.
True.
So I think that is more important, that you give it land or not for profiteering, not for creating a land
very
bank,
important,
but only for this reason.
But it should be available for real industrialists who want to do real businesses.
Yes, but today it is really a challenge. I mean, unfortunately controlled by politicians and many wrong things are happening. So this is one.
So I think that could be a very major takeaway. कि अगर वो हमने अवेलेबल करा दिया तो इंडस्ट्री विल फ्लरिश इन नासिक.
Yeah, and the other is, of course, as we started with, is infrastructure. Connectivity has to be good. In all ways. Whether it is railway, it is air connectivity, it is road connectivity. We are doing it. Of course, as a country, we have our own restrictions, but we have to have minimum 4-lane, 6-lane roads in all the directions. Again, there could be a hub and spoke. You connect Nashik to Aurangabad, Nashik to Pune, and then Pune you connect it to all the other cities. So something like a hub and spoke arrangement, where you can reach from like anywhere from India, from anywhere in India to anywhere in India should be less than 12 hours. Today it may seem impossible, but if you have good roads, it will be possible by road. Anywhere in India to anywhere in India should be 12 hours.
Right. It's always such a pleasure talking to you, Golia ji.
My pleasure.
Your knowledge and your passion for business. So it really comes out, and I wish that we could continue this interview for another half an hour, 1 hour. But
I only hope I can develop more people, who can really have that passion and grow
but
with.
If we have mentors like you, I'm sure we can together make Nashik the second best destination after Bombay
Sure.
for industry.
And let's hope, let's all work together in that direction. I'm sure we'll get results. How
Yes.
much doesn't matter, but we'll get results.
Nahi. Thank you so much, sir. Thank
My
you,
pleasure.
Golia ji.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thanks, Deshdoot, for organizing this interview. I am really honored to have this opportunity to host and take this discussion with Narendra Golia ji. So thank you all once again. Stay safe and take care.